Good afternoon, everyone. I am Margaret from the Legal Education Board.
And I'm Roxanne Palya from Legal Education Board.
Welcome to the Luzon Consultative
Meeting with
Meeting
Law
with Law
School
School
Registrars 2023. Before we begin, let's all ask the blessing and intervention of our God Almighty for an interactive consultative meeting today. Then, this will be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this auspicious gathering of your beloved, who continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. We humbly come to you, not because we are worthy, but because we find ourselves in need of you, who is our strength and our hope, to continue despite the challenges we face in health, prosperity, and our solidarity with one another. We pray that today's gathering, made possible by the grace of advancements in technology and social media, becomes successful in its endeavors, so we can offer it back to you as our humble offering to honor you, glorify you, and love you through our deeper connection with everyone. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, helas ang sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na naghihingi, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang ay di magtitingin. Lumalang araw ng walhagin pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya ng pagkay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
We are delighted to acknowledge the law school deans, registrars, together with the College of Law secretaries and/or their representatives gathered this afternoon. Also here with us today are the following esteemed personalities and representatives of our valued organization that are gracing us of their presence. We also acknowledge the chairperson as well as the commissioners of the Legal Education Board, Chairperson Ana Marie Melanie V. Trinidad, Commissioner Lorenzo Reyes, Commissioner Josefa Surera T, Commissioner Salex E. Alibogha, and Commissioner Alex D. Dumpa.
Before we begin with our consultation, we would like to remind everyone that this consultative meeting with law school registrars exclusively for Luzon legal education institutions is being recorded under our Media and Communications Unit. We would also like to remind our participants with our usual house rules. We advise everyone to kindly turn on their videos in the whole duration of the consultative meeting and unmute your microphone when it's time to speak up. Number 2, all participants are requested to rename themselves in this format: the acronym of your law school _ first name. Participants also enjoin to always observe order and courtesy. If you have any questions, you may park them first, as it will be entertained during our open forum later. Finally, we also ask everyone to kindly stay present and stay participative during this consultation meeting.
To formally open this afternoon's Luzon Consultative Meeting with Law School Registrars 2023, let's click the heart emoticon in our Zoom as we personally hear the welcome remarks of one of the commissioners of the Legal Education Board, Honorable Salex Espinosa Alibogha.
Thank you, Margaret. My greetings of respect and courtesy to all our esteemed and dedicated registrars of the legal education institutions in the Northern and Southern Luzon region. Good afternoon and welcome to the third leg of our consultative meeting with the Legal Education Board. The Legal Education Board recognizes the crucial and indispensable role of school registrars in maintaining proper documentation, recording, and reporting of legal education institutions. This initiative this afternoon rationates the role of the registrar in the school, which is no longer a mere record keeper. It has evolved from keeping and safeguarding of student records to data analysis and management of the school documents, which are essential ingredients in school planning and decision-making. Registrars are considered multi-purpose engine in complying with the portfolio requirements of the standards and compliance with the admission, graduation of law graduates, and even until tracer and retracer study of its alumni. We appreciate registrars' function with grace and courtesy, honesty, integrity, and transparency, even if there is perceived manipulation of admission and graduation documents. The registrar assists in the formulation, evaluation, and on enforcement of policies for the objectives of the institution, school calendar, class schedules, curricular programs and compliance, new standards and requirements of the Legal Education Board. You enforce government and school regulations regarding all of these quintessential aspects of the legal education. The demand for quality service calls for accuracy and timeliness in the release of information and documentation from the records of the registrar's office. May all of you who have been called to this noble profession of being the registrars of LEIs continue to strengthen legal education reforms and ensure that these reforms serve our law students and the legal community better. I appreciate your efforts in finding time to attend this consultative meeting with the Legal Education Board. May the discourse this afternoon be productive and fulfilling as we clarify matters pertinent to documentary requirements for all legal education institutions in your region. Lastly, let me quote the words of one of the founding fathers of the United States and make it this direction to our discourse this afternoon. Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. Thank you very much, and may God richly bless you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Salex, for that inspiring reminder of the noble profession being our law school registrar and College of Law secretaries. Benjamin Franklin's quote indeed briefly summarized everything.
Now, may I call on the Chief Operating Officer of the Legal Education Board to present and discuss the compliance calendar, as well as to refresh us with the application process, compliance processes, as well as the pertinent policies related to the Legal Education Board.
I'm Aaron from the Legal Education Board, and it's my role today to discuss about our compliance calendar, uh, discuss a little about the compliance process for our different transactions, and hopefully guide you to enable your school to comply correctly with all of the different LEB transactions and repertoire requirements. Now, it's important to take note that the Legal Education Board has generally two aspects to its compliance system. On the one hand, you have the repertoire requirements that the LEB requires of schools. This pertain to information and data that schools report to us for the LEB to be able to understand better the legal education system and produce or develop policies that are appropriate for the needs of the sector. So that's pertaining to legal education data through the reportorial requirements. On the other hand, we also have compliances through transactions. These are different applications that schools and individuals give to the LEB. And in this process, what the LEB does is we try to check if the schools are actually compliant with the standards set in the different LEB policies. So you have transactions on one hand and reports on the other, and both comprise the compliance system that the LEB has. For this afternoon, I'll try to guide you to understand our compliance system better. Now, it's important to understand as well that currently there are various individuals involved in the legal education compliance system. It involves the BP for finance and administration, usually for our tuition fee increases, for example, the law dean for curricular concerns, and the law registrar for other data. This is the current system that we have now. But in the future, the LB is also considering simplifying and unifying the compliance system and using a one compliance officer system to make it easier for schools to comply. Right now, the proposal is to have law registrars as our primary compliance officer for legal education institutions. As we prepare for the new system that would use a unified compliance officer, for now, we will use the multiple officers as compliance officers depending on the nature of the concern to be complied with by the school. As you may know, the LEB has issued LEB Memorandum Circular number 138. This will be our guide this afternoon so that we'll understand how best to comply with the different reports and transactions of the LEB. Next slide, please. So, let's dive in. As you can see in LEB MC 138, there are different matters to be complied with depending on whether it's a transaction or a report of the legal education institution. On your screen, you would see a matrix of these different matters for the LEB, for the LEI to comply with. First would be the tuition and other school fee increases. On the first two columns, you will see the matter and different documents required for this particular transaction. And in the middle part, the middle columns, you will see the dates when these documents are due. It's important to note that the deadline of compliance will depend on the start date of your academic year. If, for example, you start in June, then sometime in February, you should already have concluded all of your consultations for your tuition and other school fee increases. This changes if you started your year in July, August, September, and so on and so forth. Consult LEB MC 138 for the complete details. Finally, the LEB MC also provides the last column, who should comply, or the officer required to comply with the repertoire requirements or applications to the LEB. For the tuition and other school fee increases, this is the Office of the Vice President for Finance. Next slide would provide the different matrices for other transactions. First is the curriculum revision, which is under the Dean's Office. Second, the notes of electives, which is also under the Dean's Office, and the refresher course, similarly under the Dean's Office. These three matters, curriculum revision, electives, and refresher course, are related to the curricular design or program design of the school, and thus currently are under the compliance of the Dean's Office. However, for data that are readily available or should be managed by the school at large and College of Law in particular, the law registrar is the compliance officer for the other things. For example, the list of graduates of the institution, the academic calendar of the institution, as well as the Law School Information Report or LSIR for all semesters, which should also be complied with by the law registrar. A special transaction is the government authority to operate law program application, which is also similar to the branch application and opening of extension application. This special application is reserved for the office of the president. But this afternoon, I don't think it will apply to you. So please consult LEB-MC 138 for the complete list and matrix of different transactions and when they are expected to be complied with. And finally, who is the current compliance officer for them. First, let's discuss the tuition and other school fee increases application. This is one of the most important applications that a school can comply with in the LEB. And LEBMO number 8 provides the guidelines for the tuition and other school fee increases. For this discussion, I'll use the short form of the whole application, which is TOSFI or TOSFI, or tuition and other school fee increases. Now for TOSFI, it's important to understand that all schools have the discretion to increase and determine how much the increase should be to be able to afford or support their operations. So the amount of other school fees or tuition fees and how it will be increased, how much it will be increased rather, will really depend on the discretion of the school. That being said, the entire process involved in LEBO number 8 or TOSFI application really is just for the LEB to determine if the increase is reasonable and if the increase underwent due process of consultation. So if you visit LEBO number 8, in particular, you will see that these principles are enshrined there. Next slide, please. In terms of reasonability, LEBO number 8 also provides a set of guidelines for the school to consider in determining and computing how much the increase can be made in a reasonable sense. Next slide, please. And finally, LEBO number 8 also provides the list of requirements for schools to prepare for so that they'll be able to increase their tuition, their TOS fee. That's very important to also note that on the side of LEB, these requirements really will allow us to see evidence of due process conducted. So if the evidence as you submitted is incomplete, then the LEB will not be able to paint a complete picture and determine whether or not the school really did involve a very due process, a very transparent and reasonable consultation process. So the school only has to comply with these requirements to be able to implement their TOS fee. It's also important to note, next slide please, that not all documentary requirements are required of all schools. It will depend on what year level is affected. For example, if your application only covers incoming first year, then that's a very short list of requirements. But if it affects all year levels, then that will require all of the possible requirements. It's also different between private schools and state universities and colleges. So we encourage our schools to check and verify LEBMO number 8 for the applicable requirements to them. Under LEB-MC 138, it will be the Office of the Vice President for Finance and Administration or similar positions in your school who will have to comply with these requirements within the due date stated to be able to apply TOS fee in your institution. Now let's go to curriculum revision. Under LEB-MC 138, this will fall under the compliance obligations of the Office of the Dean of the Law School. LEB MC number 138 also provides for when the due date of curriculum revision and notes of electives is required of our deans or our law office of the deans. I understand that schools may have different schedules on when they are able to fully revise their curriculum, but it's important to note that there should be ample time for the LEB to review your applications for curriculum revision or notes of electives, and this would entail that the schools comply within a limited set of time. So for example, if you will be starting your school year in June, then your application should reach us at the latest on April 30th of the year. And it will change definitely if your school year starts in July, August, or September. But again, the crux of it is that there should be ample time for the LEB to review your curriculum revision or your notes of electives. It's also very important to emphasize that under LEB Memorandum Number 24, or the Revised Model Law Curriculum, the schools have been given quite a big range of freedoms to be able to design the curriculum the way that they deem it best for their design in school. And we encourage all schools to revisit LEBMO number 24 and the RMLC. It provides a wealth of discussion in terms of how the LEB wishes to see a revised way of teaching the law. You can play with the electives, you can develop your own academic tracks, as long as the mandatory aspects of the curriculum, which are the minimum standards of the curriculum, are met. CLEP can also be redesigned in the way that you deem best for your school. Next slide, please. This really relates to different enhancements as the school can make in order to design the model law curriculum that is best suited to their needs. Now, regardless of the design that schools would wish to pursue, the schools are to be reminded that this freedom should be exercised reasonably. Next slide, please. Additionally, if you are finding some trouble in terms of crediting of subjects between old students or students of the old curriculum and the new curriculum, the RMLC also provides, during this transition period, quite a large latitude for schools to manage the transition. But we have expressed some guidelines so that may guide your school in the crediting of subjects. So essentially, if a student involved is a transferee, then it is really the discretion of the accepting school how it will credit and appreciate the subjects that the students have earned in their previous schools. So if the accepting institution feels that the student is qualified to take the new curriculum and finish the degree using the new curriculum, then that is the call of the school. Returning students also usually are managed by the school by first understanding whether the returning students can still finish their studies using the old curriculum. But if this is impossible to do, then the school also has the prerogative to require the returning student, to take the new courses. Again, this is really part of that wide array of tools available to the school under the mantle of academic freedom in determining how best to accept and who to accept and how best to teach that student to be able to graduate a degree from their school. And this process would just simply require a Form P, which is available on our website for schools to use for them to apply for model law, for the curriculum revision. The motivation really behind Form P is to ensure that the LEB is aware of all of the aspects of your curriculum. It's also important to note that the curriculum is not just a schedule or the outline, but it also involves the description of the different courses that you will be giving. It also involves the schedule of courses that you will be giving. And finally, it also involves other pedagogical elements that are integral to the approach that the school will have in terms of its curriculum. Now let's go to refresher courses. Refresher courses is available or outlined under LEBMO number 3. So please, if you have the time, consult LEBMO number 3 for the full details. Next slide, please. Under the LEBMC 138 or the compliance calendar, this is also under the Dean's office and should be complied with roughly the same time as the curriculum revision applications of your school. This will also give ample time for the LEB to review your application before the start of the next academic year. Under LEBMO number 3, there are very few requirements for a school to be able to offer a refresher course. Please check section number 5 of LEBMO number 3. Now, it's important that the school will be able to outline these requirements in the form that is used for this application. Otherwise, if your application form is not complete or has missing data, then we will not be able to fully process your application. Next slide, please. The application form is on our website, and it is Form D. It essentially outlines the requirements requirements of LEBMO number 3 from the school. If you are approved, then you'll be able to be issued a certificate of government authority to operate the refresher course. Now let's move on to what we referred to in the past as the Legal Education Board Certification or LEBC. This is no longer continued, and you would be able to see the updated guidelines in particular or pertaining to LEBC under LEBMC number 114. Now it's referred to, next slide please, as the list of graduates. So the list of graduates is also required from schools, and this is now under the law school registrar. So the law school registrar should be able to comply with the list of graduates depending again on the start of the academic year. If it's June, if you started your school year in June last year, then April 30th this year should be the deadline for all of your list of graduates. Next slide, please. Further context to this is that in the past it was called the LEBC because schools required a LEB certification that certifies their graduates as have graduated for these students to take the bar examinations. However, this was discontinued as a result of the pronouncements of the Supreme Court pertaining to LEBC. And therefore, now, schools are no longer required to submit a LEBC application, but they still are required to submit a list of graduates for the public record. This list of graduates, next slide please, is submitted using a template that we have provided to you that basically just outlines information about the graduates. Next slide please. And you are simply going to fill out this list of graduates form and file this with the Legal Education Board to comply with the requirement. Aside from that list, one major report that we require of schools is the Law School Information Report or the LSIR. So we only require an LSIR form that is fully filled out for this requirement. Next slide please. This is also to be complied with by the law school registrar, who hopefully has the information, all the information required in the report. There are two usual LSIRs in a year, the first semester and the second semester LSIR. If you have a summer term or a special term, then that also requires its own LSIR. So the date of compliance for this is August 1 for the first semester if you started in June, and November 2 if you started in September. For the second semester LSIR, the deadline is early next year. If you started in June, again, that's about January 1st of this new year, or April 1st, 2024 if you started in September this school year. For both LSIRs, it's still the law school registrar who will file the report. Next slide, please. And finally, the academic school calendar. The The academic school calendar guidelines is outlined in LEMO number 10. And in LEMO number 10, it provides for the basic parameters on how an academic school calendar or an academic school calendar period should be designed. So please visit LEMO number 10 for the details. Next slide, please. It's also the law school registrar who needs to comply with this academic calendar and submit that academic calendar on the due date depending on the start of the academic year. Now, before we conclude the discussion on the different compliances of the school, it's important to reiterate that there continues to be schools who find it difficult to comply with our various transactions or reportorial requirements. We understand that there are various reasons to this challenge. This initiative, which is a consultative meeting with our law registrars, is one of the tools that we are using to be able to help schools to comply better. Please make sure that you are updated with the different issuances of the LEB and always consult our academic calendar compliance, our school calendar compliance to understand better how best to comply with the requirements of the LEB. If you have any other concern with the compliances and the reportorial requirements, our officers also always welcome an opportunity to talk and dialogue with you so that we are able to help you with your concerns. And now this afternoon, it will also be an opportunity for me to discuss a LEB policy that some schools may have questions on, and this opportunity would be that platform for me to discuss it further. So the LEB policy that I would like to share to you today more on about, next slide please, is the regulation of the conferment of honorary law degrees in legal education. So the LEB issued LEBMO number 25, which outlines the discussion on the fact that the conferment of honorary Doctor of Laws degrees is already deregulated. Next slide, please. Essentially, what this means is that all duly accredited LEIs may already grant honorary Doctor of Laws degrees to persons of integrity and other parameters, but should be done reasonably. So under level 25, all others, we encourage that the grantees of honorary degrees should be eminent individuals with integrity, who have distinguished themselves in the field of law, justice, administration, governance, leadership, or public service through outstanding work and or exemplary service to society. And so, as long as the school judiciously exercises this power, we encourage all schools to consider their own decision making in conferring the honorary Doctor of Laws degrees. This means that you no longer have to apply with the LEB for you to confer an honorary Doctor of Laws degrees. You may still inform us of your activities, but these are not prerequisites for your grant. So that's it. If you have questions, we have an open forum later today for these concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney A, for that incisive discussion on the compliance calendar. For the compliance calendar, the application process, the compliance process, as well as refreshing us with the policies of the Legal Education Board. I'm pretty sure our participants in Zoom right now have their questions all set. You may chat ahead your questions via the Zoom chat box, so not to forget it, as we still have our 15-minute coffee break first. Time check, it is now 2:04. Please be back at 2:19. Thank you.
I hope everyone had their quick coffee break. Thank you again for gracing us your time for this afternoon's consultative meeting with law school registrars. Just a quick recap earlier, the Chief Operating Officer of the Legal Education Board, Attorney Aaron Mark Nisa Di Maano, presented and discussed the compliance calendar, application and compliance processes, as well as refresh us with the policy of the Legal Education Board. It is an elementary rule to really know that the legal education institutions may set to commence their school calendars not earlier than the last week of May, but not later than the last day of August. Also, the compliance officer would include now the law school registrar, specifically for submission of the academic calendar, as well as the law school information report prior the start of their academic year. Finally, the grant on honorary degrees lies now to all duly accredited legal education institutions in accordance with the academic freedom. Legal education institutions may now judiciously exercise recognition of eminent individuals of integrity who have distinguished themselves in the field of law, administration, governance, leadership, or public service through outstanding work and or exemplary service to society.
At this juncture, we are entertaining comments, suggestions, questions, and or clarifications for our open forum. The Supervising Education Program Specialist of the Legal Education Board, Mr. John Robin M. Ambas, will answer most of the queries in our open forum, together with the head of the Standards Development Unit, Mr. Gabriel Thomas R. Garcia. You may use the raise hand button feature in Zoom, or you may choose the Zoom chat box for your questions, clarifications, and or comments, suggestions, or inquiries.
For our first question, what will happen to us if we cannot meet the set days of notice for school application or compliance set on your compliance calendar timeline? Like we say, instead of 15 days before consultation as set for the tuition fee increase, we send it like 9 days prior consultation, or we submitted it late. Sir John, can you answer the question?
Okay, thank you for that question, for that clarification. As what has been discussed by Attorney Aaron a while ago, the very objective of this consultative meeting is to encourage our legal education institutions to apply on time or within the given framework, because such delay in that compliance may result into the denial of your application. Therefore, if you have any concerns regarding any of your applications or transactions with us, please do not hesitate to communicate with our office to provide you further assistance. Thank you.
Moving on with our next question, how many copies of the requirements do we secure for the increase in positions and tuition application do we need to submit? Sir Thomas, may we ask you to respond on this inquiry?
Thank you, Marga. Thank you, Marga. Usually for applications such as the tuition fee increases, we only need one copy. However, should the school submit additional copies, it is okay. However, we are emphasizing that one copy will be sufficient. Other applications will have their respective copies needed in their corresponding application forms. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Thomas, for answering the question. A while ago, we saw a question here coming from University of Pangasinan, from Miss Liberty. Hello, for those conferred with the law degree via honoris causa, are they also qualified to take the bar exam? I think Sir Thomas can answer the question.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. Actually, we have to emphasize that honoris causa degrees are honorary degrees. Whether or not they are qualified to take the bar, applicants should still inquire their qualifications with the Supreme Court requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Thomas, for your response on those questions raised earlier. Another question is for Sir John. How does the requirement on the listing of student council officers be a relevant requirement for the tuition and school fee increase?
Okay, this is really in observance of this. This is really in observance of the due process wherein the student body should be informed of the possible or different increase or introduction of new school fees for a certain school year. So the very purpose is to inform our student body regarding the increase in their tuition and how much will be released, and to ensure the just implementation of those school fees. Now, there is also a provision in LEBMO number 6 that if ever that a legal education institution does not have any established law student government, the LEI may simply appoint 10 representative from the student body to be a part of the consultation process. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir John. Another question here, clarification. I would like to be clarified that expanding the unit weight under the revised model law curriculum needs to be consulted to LEB as well as needed to be approved prior implementing, right? Sir Thomas?
Yes, thank you. Curriculum changes or curricular adjustments, we have to remember, are a major thing. Even if it's an expansion of an academic unit weight, the addition of prerequisites, or other changes in the curriculum, this has to be reviewed and be approved prior to implementation by the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Thomas, for that response. We have another inquiry that says, will increase in miscellaneous fees be subjected to consultations and LEB approval? May we ask Sir John for this response? Again, the question is, will increase in miscellaneous fees be subjected to consultations and LEB approval?
Yes. Okay, yes, it will be subject to an application and approval of the board. And there should, once again, be the consultation process. Thank you.
Okay, we have here a question regarding refresher courses. In offering refresher courses, what is our remedy if we do not meet the passing rate for its first-time examinees? Sir John?
We have to remember that the very purpose of LEBMO number 3 is to ensure the quality of the refresher courses being offered. Thus, LEIs are really required there is a requirement of the attainment of at least 10% passing rate for new examinees during the last 3 consecutive bar examinations. With that, only then the LEB can really approve or give the authority for law schools to offer refresher courses. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir John. At this point, I would like to request Miss or Sir Jave of the University of Bohol. Sir, is it okay for you to directly ask your question in our chat box if it's possible, or have a very interactive consultative meeting today? University of Bohol, Mr. or Miss Jave, are you there? I guess there's none. So we'll just read the question. Is the required number, or did I understand it right, that if our school has no plans of adjusting our fees, we need not comply with the tuition application? Again, did I understand it right, that if our school has no plans of adjusting our fees, we need not comply with the tuition application? Sir John?
Yes, that is correct. No need for further application regarding that.
Thank you very much, Sir John, for answering the question of Mr. or Miss J from University of Bohol. For our next question, what is the process for CAV. Sir Thomas?
For the process of CAV or Certificates of Authentication and Verification, applications are submitted to the LEB. This includes the requirements in the website stated earlier, which includes the transcript of records, an endorsement from the registrar, the copy of the diploma, and the corresponding document stamp. These are submitted to the LEB. Then thereafter, the LEB will review and evaluate the applications and will be released to the student or to the requesting LEI. Upon release, this can be achieved through pick up or through our mailing services through the postal office. Students and LEIs may also authorize individuals on their behalf to claim their respective CAV applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Thomas. Yet another question is raised to you. Is the required number of units for English, science, and social science still applicable as prerequisite for law students, especially those graduating? Again, is the required number of units for English, science, and social science still applicable as prerequisite for law students, especially those graduating?
Thank you, Marga, for the question. Following LEB Memorandum Circular number 122 on the clarification on the prerequisites for admission to the Juris Doctor program, which includes the requirements for English, math, and so on, that requirement is therefore revoked and part of the Supreme Court's issuance also. So again, the requirement for the subjects of mathematics, English, and social sciences as a prerequisite to admission to the law program, it is no longer required. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Thomas, for answering the question from USEP. Next question is, this is still in relation to CAV application. Can this be hand carried by the students who requested for it, or can this be hand carried by the student who requested for it going to your office? Sir Thomas?
Certainly po, it can be hand delivered to us or it can also be sent to us via mail or through the courier of your choice.
Another question regarding CAV. Since I think a lot of the students right now or law schools are applying for CAV application. In regards with the CAV return, we currently have a CAV document for pickup. Unfortunately, we have not included a return pocket. Can we send another mail with pocket money on it? Thank you.
Again, certainly po, to ease po the claiming process, LEIs can send their returning pouch or additional fund or additional claiming processes so that they may able to easier claim their CAV application.
This question is for Sir John. I would like to be clarified on the list of graduates. Can this be sent online?
Yes po, the list of graduates may be sent online for convenience, or if you still prefer the physical or the face-to-face sending of the list of graduates, that will still be okay. Thank you.
Additional question for you, Sir John. Form P for RMLC application has a portion requiring the listing of electives to be offered under RMLC or the revised model law curriculum. Would this be a compliance already of the notice of electives requirement?
Technically, no. There should be a separate sort of application for the notice of electives. However, we don't actually consider it an application. It's simply the sending of a formal letter addressed to our chairperson informing LEB regarding the electives that you are planning to offer. So a simple letter will suffice, and that will serve as the notice of electives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir John, for answering the question. Now we have here another question from University of Bohol. Consultation requirement only applies to school fees adjustment and not for curriculum adjustment anymore. Sir Thomas?
Yes po, ma'am. That is correct po. We only require a consultation for those tuition fee increase or adjustment applications. Meanwhile, for curricular adjustments, you need only to comply with the requirements and also the application as stated in our Form P.
Thank you, Sir Thomas. Again, we encourage those participants online and Zoom to unmute yourself and try to ask your questions live. So we're down with our last question via Zoom. In the submission of reportorial requirements to LEB, I would like to ask some clarifications if the legal education institution is required to submit a hard copy to LEB's main office or the soft copy through the lab online will suffice. Sir Thomas?
Yes po. Part of our push for easier convenience for our stakeholders is that we are allowing or we are also accepting submissions and applications submitted through us online through our official email address at contact@leb.gov.ph. LEIs may still continue to submit physically. However, the online option is still there for those who are unable to send a physical copy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Thomas. I think we have another question, or we have a question here from Sir Arnold from UEP. The question is, or if you can you can unmute yourself, Mr. Arnold, to ask us the question. Sir Arnold, are you here with us? Or if you can't, we'll just read the question.
All right, hearing none, I think
Okay.
Ma'am Roxanne, we should just read the question
That's
via
okay.
Zoom.
That's okay, Sir Arnold. So the question is, I would just like to be clarified in terms of the revisions of the curriculum. If we will submit it directly to the LEB, or it still need for the approval of the academic council. Sir Thomas?
Thank you, Rox. Thank you, Sir Arnold. Curriculum adjustment that reaches the LEB are typically approved by the governing academic council of the legal LEI or the legal education institution. Only then does the LEB evaluate and check the submitted curriculum. So yes, LEIs are to submit those approved curriculums by their governing council in their respective institutions.
All right, thank you, Sir Thomas, for that answer. And I would like to call on University of Bohol, Sir or Ma'am J. Are you ready to unmute yourself and ask directly your question about the requirement on tuition fee? University of Bohol, there's another question regarding school fees adjustment. Okay. I think this was already answered earlier on the school fees adjustment and not for the adjustment of the curriculum.
I think we don't have any questions anymore coming from our participants. So this ends our open forum. You may request a copy of the presentation via email through the following contact on your screen. So if you want to have a copy, if you want to request a copy of our presentation, you may send it to us, or you may send an email requesting to our official email address.
All right, there's pahabol question from the LNU, Mr. Between. Are you there with us, sir? If it's okay, can we unmute yourself so that we can have an interactive consultative meeting?
Hi, yes, thank you very much. I just want to repeat the question of our Dean Farah Decano, because our internet is a bit laggy. She asked for increases in miscellaneous fees. Do we need to consult and have the LEB approve it? Sorry if we weren't able to hear the answer.
All right, may we call on Sir Thomas? Again, this was the question raised earlier, whether the miscellaneous fees needs to be consulted and approved by the Legal Education Board.
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. Depending, ma'am, on the level, for example, for first-year applicants and or for higher levels, these need prior consultations from the existing student body. Yes, and all increases therefore included in tuition fee adjustments also need approval from the LEB. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, ma'am. And I think that's the last one. Napahabol na question this afternoon.
Oh, I think
And
we
there's
have,
another one.
we have another additional question from University of Pangasinan. Ma'am Pahabol, the ladderized JD Master of Legal Studies program will start this new school year 2023 to 2024. We can apply the curriculum already. The zonal consultation ended last February. Sir Thomas?
Thank you, sir, for the question. Actually, in the wake of the public consultations held during the last few weeks and few months, the Master of Legal Studies program is still currently being reviewed and revised. It still has not yet reached our board for approval, and we will give the appropriate notices to our stakeholders once it is approved. Thank you.
All right, so wala na bang pahabol, participants? It's okay if you have still questions. This is the best time for you to raise your concerns regarding the curriculum, the compliance processes, as well as the application and the CAV processes. So counting 1, 2, 3, I guess we're hearing none from the audience anymore. So at this point, let's now open our videos, because every event like this ends with a group pic for our documentation. So may we request everyone to kindly turn on your videos so we can capture your beautiful smiles this afternoon, starting with frame 1. We have 2 frames. All right, let's just wait for the others to open their videos. May we ask Mr. Romil from USEP? Ma'am Claribel? All right, so we ask our tech team to document us in our event. Okay, let's start with frame 1. All right, hold your smiles for 3 seconds. Frame 1, ready, set, 1, 2, 3. All right, frame number 2. Hold your smile still, because you don't know whether you're frame 1 or frame 2. Okay, ready, set, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'd like to thank our tech team for documenting our faces, beautiful smiles and faces this afternoon.
So we hope you learn and absorb all the information that has been discussed this afternoon. We extend our sincerest gratitude to all our participants and to our team.
This has been Margaret Castro from the Legal Education Board.
And Roxanne Palia from Legal Education Board. See you around and stay safe, everyone.